Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Life Chats, episode 10. Michael, we've reached syndication. No, we're a long way from that. We probably will never get to that point, but who knows what.
With your help, we might.
Yeah, so you're in a mood, man.
The Montreal Canadiens made a stupid move, and I'm just leaving it at that. Go on.
They made a really bad trade right now, literally 10 minutes ago, for a player that you think, Max Domi, who you think is completely over. This isn't going to be a hockey episode.
No, it's not. It's not. But you know what? I switched my allegiances. I don't appreciate a bad trade.
So Montreal got, in your opinion, a really bad player.
Not a really bad player. It was just not a good deal. And for them, that was the last kind of a player that they needed. Anyway, moving on. Life Chats! Okay, so we've been getting tons of views. Thank you, everyone who's been watching.
Thanks, Mom. I really appreciate it. You've always been a number one fan since day one.
I've been hearing her on the sidelines in soccer. Go, Kevin, go! Be the Iron Curtain! But we have fans, young and old, so that was interesting.
Well, very interesting.
Not old, I'm just going to leave it at
that. Yeah, let's isolate and shame the old people that watch our show. Old. Yeah, but, well, Michael, what happens when we get older?
We die? No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get used to him being clean-shaven and...
Watch, by next week, it takes me a long time to grow out facial hair, apparently.
Oh,
I
yeah,
shaved on Tuesday, and it's only at this point now. This would be half an hour after shaving.
This is 2 weeks, and it's
pretty good.
Coming off soon. But what happens when we get old? We get depressed. I don't know what happens when we get old. What happens? Whoa!
I feel a lot of people get the idea that they're in a rut.
Does that necessarily mean though that does that really mean when you're older? Because, I'm sure people our age get in ruts. Heck, when we were teenagers, did you not get into a rut every once in a while?
Well, to be honest, no.
Well, good for you.
But, that's the thing that I notice about human nature is we tend to like things that are comfortable and familiar. That's why we tend to hang out with the same people. We prefer to do the same activities. We prefer the same bars, we prefer the same restaurants, because we know what experience we're going to get, and that experience isn't enjoyable.
That is true. Actually, well, I don't know about lifelong ruts, but this was kind of a point. So me and my brother were at the mall, and whenever I go to Dairy Queen or something, I always get a chocolate extreme blizzard or a royal fudge brownie blizzard if I'm feeling a little risque. But my brother goes and gets these smoothies, and every time he goes and gets a different smoothie. And he just hated the smoothie he had this week. And I was just like, why are you getting that? Why don't you get... if you know what you like, why don't you just get that? And he's like, I wanted to keep it interesting. I'm like, well, now you paid $5 for this smoothie, and you're going to toss half of it out. So I get what you're saying with, repetition, oh my God, repetition and being comfortable and stuff like that.
Well, I would assume there have been points in your life with regards to getting new jobs, with regards to different moments in time when new things felt scary. And that it's hard to enjoy change sometimes when the change is a really big deal, whether that's moving to a new city, whether that's being in a long-distance relationship with someone. It's something, again, that you can't always account for and might be unpleasant sometimes. And that's why I feel, for the most part, do you think that people are in a rut and they just don't see it as that? If we're doing the same things over and over again.
When I always think about being in ruts, I always, I don't know, this is just me. I always define being in a rut as something negative. It's like a tidal wave of bad things that have been happening. Nothing really is good happening in the moment. You look to the future and you don't see it being anything positive. That's what I feel like a rut is. You get depressed. You're not motivated to do things. Have I had that? Oh, I've had my fair share. But In terms of people not realizing they're in a rut, I don't know. Like, I've never really met someone who's like has thought of being in a rut just being doing the same old thing, punching a clock every now and then. I always assumed that being in a rut was negative and that you just don't see much positive happening in the near future. That's how I always interpreted it.
As a negative
tailspin,
experience where you're just spinning your tires, nothing's really moving forward,
right.
You're doing the same routine that's monotonous, but you've always associated with negative connotation. That is always a bad thing.
I never thought of a rut being a good thing. Would it be? No, I've never thought of that.
Well, not because I would assume based on your life, you...
Ow! He did it again!
I would assume in your life that... And you'll get me back later, it's fine. I assume that in your life, you tend to do the same things over and over again. You come over here every Friday. That is tradition. Mm-hmm. We see the same friends all the time. We talk about the same things all the time. You can pretty much just, in all honesty, we can probably just take a get-together at our friend's house, copy and paste it to the next time, and it's going to be the same, if not very close. And yet, we treat each experience as it's novel, and we enjoy it. Even though we know exactly what we're going to talk about, we know exactly how the conversation is going to play out, and yet we still think of it as being new when it happens, and we still enjoy it. But is that not a rut? Is that not the same thing over and over again? Nothing's really going forward.
You're right. I'm starting to see what you're saying. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, to be honest. I haven't seen our friends in a while. I haven't seen them. Now that I'm thinking about it, when was the last time I saw them?
It's been a long time, yeah.
So
not for me, but I'm a better friend. But for you, what can you do for me? Nothing. Okay, we'll see you next week.
No, that's not true.
I'm teasing, man. I'm teasing. No, I know you're in a bad mood because of the trade. I'm sorry, but no, but it's interesting. Like, what if you could think back to, because it does affect everyone at certain points of their life.
Yes.
Can you recall the last time you felt that, aside from maybe right now? When was there ever a moment in time where you felt that your life wasn't going anywhere? That you felt that every moment was the same as the last and you're just spinning your tires? Negative.
But can you say that for everybody, though? In a way?
No, but I'm asking for... What is it? When is the most recent time for you personally?
Honestly, every day, probably. Every day, sometimes, you always worry about that. I mean, especially with, so I especially think about that a few times, I get, there are months where I get acting work, and then there are months, long stretches of months where I don't, and that's when it hits, and it's like, I was nailing November and December like crazy, but then January and February come around, and it's the work's lesson, but by March, April, May, there's nothing. So I always sometimes feel that, professionally speaking, that I'm in a rut. I know friends of mine have talked about that kind of as well in professional, they feel like they're working the same job, punch a clock, 9 to 5 kind of deal, 12 to 8 if you're doing shift work, and
but you're working with the same people all the time.
Yeah.
Faces don't change.
The conversation's the same. You talk about the weather. You hear that, right? The weather and that kind of deal.
I hate the weather.
Oh my
God.
the weather. I hate those conversations. Those are the worst, eh?
Whenever I'm on a date with someone, I mean, shout out to Kelly. We're good, but
hey,
whenever
it's out. Sorry.
Whenever I have dated someone, and whenever they mention, can you believe the weather today?
That's when you know.
That's when shortly thereafter, I gotta go pick up someone. I gotta go. Emergency.
Do you take my excuse about picking up a relative from the airport?
Not that. But I'll say, at the time at the time when I was living and taking care of my grandfather, I'd say, I had to pick up my no. And actually, I didn't have to do it that day.
But eventually
I would have to. But no, but
I would be like, oh, the bat signal. I have to go. You're not Batman. I am now. Later. Stick him with a check.
No, that's dating etiquette. That's something that we can have a whole conversation. What is it?
I don't know why I did that. I'm just like stay strong.
Reflex, yeah. But no, but you're especially with working. I think most professionals can agree that conversations do seem repetitive.
So what would you?
So, but no, just out of curiosity, how did you cope with that? Did you feel there needed to be something coped with? Are you on the right track now? Are you still in a rut? I don't just spam you with 1,000 questions.
I know.
Answer them in order.
Honestly, I don't remember the order. I split the personal and the professional separate because sometimes with the professional, sometimes you can't really help it. It's just it is what it is. Personally, I have felt like I'm in a not recently, mind you. No, that's not even one.
That's close enough.
All right. So, so I feel personally, I think I haven't been feeling like I've been in a rut in a while, which thank goodness, because when I do get in a personal rut, those go on for prolonged periods of time, and it takes a lot to snap me out of them. And thankfully, I'm at a point where that hasn't been so much of an issue. Do you separate the personal and the professional, or do you amalgamate and connect them all?
Well, I think with me, I tend to combine personal and professional life with every place that I've worked. A lot of my colleagues at the store or at the clinic are some of the people that I would choose to hang out with outside of work. They know a lot about me personally, and I know a lot about them personally.
Right.
And I feel what makes us better colleagues is the fact that we know each other so well. Mm-hmm. But the reason why this is important to me right now is because I feel I'm 25, I'm still in school, same classes, same classmates, and you're talking about forced social obligation, going to school, talking to people in your classes. You don't want there to be silence.
Right.
You feel that void.
Right.
And that's why I feel right now that I'm in a rut. And that's why I want to talk about this, because what?
It's funny because as you were going through that, I just remembered a conversation I had 2 weeks ago with an old friend I met up with and reconnected. And she said something interesting, how you were saying you were 25 and still in school. She was, I'm not going to say who it is, but she was saying that she's a little bit older than us. And she's romantically in a rut. And so here's what I said to her, and here's what I'm going to say to you. All right? Pick up your notebooks, kids. Uncle Michael's going to drop some knowledge. First of all, everyone has their own path, and this is something that I think, this is what I remind myself here, and everyone's star kind of goes in different directions and stuff. I mean, there's this meme where everyone thinks success is, and this is what real life is. There. Save on sound effects. That's what I do. So
it's in the budget.
so the way I look at it is, everyone's, as long as you have somewhat of an end goal, or you're in the middle of a plan, that's the thing. And we were talking about this with Nolan. Shout out to Nolan last week, where I was always talking about as when I was younger, and Nolan would give me heck for this. I would always look.
Good job for not swearing. Good job, man.
I have to now.
Good job, man.
I have to now. I know.
I like how you're so proud of yourself for not swearing too.
Because I know kids are watching. So the way I look at it is you have to, I guess, embrace the journey that you're on, and realize that as long as you have, at least as long as there's something at the end of the tunnel, then keep going. Because she was just, I was telling her, especially with romantically, and I gave her my stance on what I was doing, and I said, you know what? Everyone has their path, Everyone has their own journey. You're saying you're 25 and you're still in school. There are people still in their 30s and 40s still going in school. At least you can look at it as, well, it's the gateway of something, of not a brighter future, but at least I have somewhat of an idea of where I'm going to go once I get this degree. You know, you have a plan in place. You've talked to me about it. So that is how that would be my advice, is something that I wish I would have told a younger me a few years ago, and it's something that Nolan back in the day would keep trying to tell me, is live in the present, live in the now, and don't focus so much on counting the days, like, you know, one day closer to getting out of this and all that stuff in terms of being in a rut. And that's how I feel personally. I've been able to get out of that rut, is because I keep that in mind, you know, and that would be kind of my advice. Well, it was to her, and it is now to you and to the kids. Now I can't believe kids are watching this, but does that kind of make sense to you?
It did, and I think that's actually great advice. When next time you do that, I'm gonna knock that ball. I think you're right. When rut has a negative connotation, when, like you're saying, there's no end in sight. You feel all this repetitive work is not going.
It's like an endless pit, kind of, right? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's not so much doing the same thing over and over again is a bad thing. That working the same jobs, that having the same conversations isn't really a bad thing if there is an end goal in sight.
Right.
And I think that's important. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. A lot of people who are starting out in their jobs right now, or a lot of people who have been working for a long time, if they can remind themselves there is a point to this, whether it's their family, whether it's their career, whether it's their own personal ambition, if it's something that they're building towards, like you're saying, live more in the now. Think about, plan for the future, but don't count down the days until you get there.
Yeah.
Live in the now. I think that's a very good way to approach feeling like you're in a rut.
And then, like, if you still feel like that's not quite working, then go out, have some fun, do something that you never really, you know, have done. Like, you know, like if go-karting and stuff.
Get a smoothie.
Get a smoothie.
Get a blizzard. Yeah, mix it up. Variety is a spice of life.
Go shopping.
Yeah.
You know, like just do something that gets you out of that, like, every, like, this repetitive system that you have conducted for yourself, and do something outside of those norms.
Or you can just retire and shout out to my mom. Hey. Yes. But let us know your thoughts on how you deal with being in a rut. What are some methods besides what Michael mentioned? Getting a smoothie, shopping more. What are your techniques of how to cope with being in a rut? Is it a bad feeling for you guys, or is it something that you just accept as part of your life? Let us know below. And I can't believe that. I don't believe what? I can't believe we're getting so many views, man.
You know what? It's interesting, and I got
so many views. Oh my god,
by the hundreds. What do you think this is going to cap at?
Oh wow. I think I'm calling it right now. I'm saying a hard 60 views.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Because now I just discovered that a family member has been watching us every week.
Is she family?
I'm not going to get into it. Yes, but Margaret. Hey, girl. Look. Here's the thing. We're gonna try to prove him wrong. Share it to your friends, or just keep clicking. And say hi to little Emma. She has the most adorable 7-year-old daughter. Oh my god, so cute. If I would adopt, I would adopt that kid.
I was gonna say, I feel like if you were going to adopt someone, it would have been that kid. Yeah. I don't know how I would have known that.
But also big, because big news. Big news, but a little bit secret news. We're having a guest next week. I won't be here. Kevin, are you excited about it?
It'll be interesting. Yeah.
You might want to tell your face. All right. So it's pretty huge. I can't believe that it's actually happening. But a few of our watchers, audience members, kids, requested this, and we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. So you know, that's pretty much it. But Margaret, let's prove them wrong. Come on.
Yes. Let's get to 61 views.
61 views. If it's 61, you're gonna kill me.
Let's go home.
I'll tell you. Let's go home.
But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate the outpouring of support from no one.
Oh, come on.
No, but we've actually been getting a lot of feedback from people, and we appreciate you taking the time to let us know. Again, thank you so much for watching. We can't do it without you guys. Vegas forever. Yeah! And we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
You're doing it now. Yay!